Okay, it should be recording.
Okay.
Also, you can introduce yourself too to let people know why you're interviewing.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Kira. I am a old friend of Miss Shatoyia, and I currently relaunched a blog called EBAU, and basically it's a blog that contains content pertaining to lifestyle, innovation, individuality, and humanity. And I really wanted to do an interview with Shatoyia based upon her being a consultant and her broadening and creating ordinary influence and First Ladies of Poverty. I'm really excited to be interviewing her, and I feel like she'll give some really great insight and contribute a lot to the website.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And yes, Kira is very artsy. I remember the last time I remember not the last time we spoke, but like the last time I saw you in Louisiana, you're really into like poetry and writing. So I'm not surprised that she has a blog, and I'm excited to be a part of it. I feel honored that you asked me to be a part of it. So I'm excited.
Great. So are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's get started.
Okay, okay. So I'm just gonna even though I know this information it's for the blog purposes, I just want to ask you about a brief background about who you are, where you're from, and what's your current life path or life status with where you are right now.
Okay, so I am Shatoyia Jones. I grew up in Louisiana, the south side of Louisiana. I grew up in an impoverished environment where, work and hustle was more important than education a lot of times. Um, there was crime and drugs and things around. Um, there was a lot of teen pregnancy. There was uh, not much. I mean, to be a doctor or a nurse, maybe, but there wasn't much aspiration in regards to like what was available to us to accomplish what we can actually attain, unless you grew up in that household. But many of us didn't. So, um, I also grew up in I would say, an abusive, emotionally, physically household. And for me, my escape, like a lot of people use, boyfriends, girlfriends, sex, drugs, alcohol to escape. For me, my escape was education, it was school. So I couldn't committed myself to my studies. I was very competitive with my studies, but not because I wanted to be better than everybody else, but because I wanted to have the best opportunities to leave that environment, create something better for myself, do better for myself, and then bring it back to my community. So now that's what I'm in the process of doing. I left Louisiana for higher education. So right after high school, I went straight to Massachusetts for college. I left my senior year to pursue entrepreneurship full time. I was already doing entrepreneurship starting my first business at 8 to afford a lot of the leadership and academic programs I wanted to do at school. Then I started a management consulting business. So I just love giving advice to people, carried that out throughout high school and college. And then left college, went into education. So I was a paraprofessional for special needs and behavior education. I was a bilingual mentor for Institute for Training and Development, so Spanish English mentor. Then I was an English Japanese mentor for GPIUS. And while doing all of this, I also worked at a restaurant part time, worked at a school full time, and then was also working on my business full time. And still, I made a presentation that showed like a piggy bank that was like cracked with pennies coming out. Like that's how my bank account looked despite everything I was doing. So I decided to commit to entrepreneurship full time. And now I have a successful organization that I'm super proud of. The First Ladies of Party Foundation, which does exactly what I've been trying to do in these different avenues, but now it's all under one umbrella. And it's teaching BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color how to have a higher quality of life through being your own boss, which is business entrepreneurship, having those programs, but also not just being your own boss, but learning how to manage and save the money that you earn and invested into assets that you can pass down to your loved ones once you are no longer here, to start that generational wealth process in families and then teach your community the same thing. So I'm very proud of the organization. And like you said, there was Ordinary Influence, there was Born to Be Unique Consulting. So that was the organization's, the consulting business that had started before creating the First Ladies of Party Foundation, which is now like a community center for Black, Indigenous people of color.
I I know we've known each other for a long time, and I've always just been inspired by your story and how ambitious and motivated you've always been throughout your journey, and you were always very focused and very diligent in what you wanted to do in life and
Thank you.
what you wanted to do for others. And I'm glad that you're shining your light and you found a path that you're really passionate about, especially when it comes to working with people in the community. It takes a lot of experience and compassion to do. And you answered actually some of the questions that I was about to follow you up with. But I'm really glad that you did that because you're very thorough. Um, so just a brief and insight into your development. How did you get interested, or how did you become interested in consulting?
Okay, good question. So when I started my first business, it was out of necessity. Like I wanted to be able to afford different academic and leadership programs. And so that was my way of paying for it. But then people just started asking me advice. Like even in our conversations, right? There were at moments like you asked me about like relationships, or you asked me about like career, or just different things I was doing. And I found great satisfaction in answering those questions and helping someone get clear about where they could go, or what they can do, or what they can do next, or just giving advice for me has always been the easiest thing. And it's a blessing and a curse because some people don't want advice, some people don't want help. So I've had to learn that. But when those who do want it, I'm so overly enthusiastic about finding you a solution or helping you see a next step or a next path. So I just like problem solving and giving advice. Like that's just, and I think that's why I went into entrepreneurship too, because it's all about problem solving.
Definitely. Do you feel that problem solving is a key component or characteristic when it comes to being a consultant, and especially when you're working with other people?
Yes, absolutely. That is the, if you want to stand out, like you can obviously tell people, you can obviously give advice to people, but if it doesn't do anything to transform their lives, are you really a consultant? Are you really, that's what consultants do. They consult in a specific, they advise, give expertise in a specific niche that they're experts in, and give solutions. They help strategize and give solutions to those who need that consultancy. So just like you would go to a financial consultant to go over your finances and help you strategize where you want to go next and how you want to do things and solve some financial issues for you, or you go to a management consultant to help you solve issues and how you're managing your company and help it be better and more efficient. So if you're not solving a problem, in my opinion, you're not really a consultant.
What are what are some other characteristics that you feel are a necessity when it comes to? I like to think of a consultant as like a helping profession, and I always wondered in an insightful way what qualities do you feel like a consultant should embody or should gravitate towards in order to be able to deliver certain services or just to be of like guidance to others?
Or qualities, I would say confidence, If you're not confident in what you're telling me, I'm sure as heck not going to be confident in you in your advice and what you're giving me. So confidence is key. Um, I think willingness to learn is another one. I think a lot of consultants often get stuck in what they already know, just like many people in general. But in order for you to remain competitive and remain on top of your game, you have to be willing to continuously learn and research different things in your industry and stay on top of new trends that's coming up, so that not only will you just know, but you'll be able to advise like which one of these will be best for your client. And that again will build trust, build your clients' trust in you because they know like you're on top of your game, like you know what you're talking about, and you're not just stuck in like an old way of doing things. Especially in this age of technology and digital media, things are changing like this. So your willingness to learn has to be on key because what you learned yesterday could be completely different from what's relevant today. Um, I would say a love to help people, like a love to problem solve at the bare minimum. Just if you like solving problems, I think consulting is a great field for you to go into. And again, the field is so wide. It could be something as simple as science, like science consulting, or like you can consult, you can problem solve in any industry. You just got to figure out which one is right for you. But if you don't like to solve problems, if you're not someone who likes to find solutions to things, then it's probably not the right one for you. Um, Consulting qualities. I would say qualities for a consultant. I'm trying to think like what if I were to hire a consultant, what qualities would I want? Um, Communication, reliability. So if you're not reliable, if you don't know how to communicate to me what you're trying to say, or if you don't have different ways of communicating, I mean, you can obviously still work as a consultant. If you have like one way of communicating, you just got to find the right client for you, just like with any relationship. However, in order to remain competitive, if you know how to communicate to people and speak in their language, that's super important. Not like Spanish, French, although that could be very helpful. But when I say in their language, I mean like in the way they can understand what it is you're talking about. So almost like a translation of sorts. That's super important. And of course, reliability. Like if I can't rely on you to get the job done, if you're not really self motivated to go out and look for, different answers or solutions, then again, consulting might not be for you.
Definitely. And I definitely agree with you on about communicating, and communication is very important because I feel like everyone's just verbal and nonverbal communication is very different, and it's important to try to find like a liaison or like a balance or even like a harmony to where you're able to kind of translate that to them. So that was very insightful. Um, can you tell me briefly about how you began to develop ordinary influence before you branched off into First Ladies of Poverty?
So, ordinary influence. So, I had Born to Be Unique Consulting before that. And Born to Be Unique Consulting was me helping people leverage their uniqueness. Because I know when I grew up, I was pretty unique. Like, there were certain things about me that I knew were different, but I didn't find a lot of support in leveraging that uniqueness. I kind of had to kind of trial and error how to walk in my uniqueness and still have a successful life and career without having to like change myself to fit what people said was like normal or the norm. So that's what I was doing before. And then in my wanting to make a positive impact, right? Because that's why I started doing that. I was like, okay, so I want to make a positive impact. I love doing this, but now I want to focus on specifically alleviating poverty. And what do I need to do in order to do that? So I did a lot of research on nonprofits and NGOs, and I realized there are 1.5, well, at that time, that was what, 2017, 2016, I was doing that research. So at that time, it was 1.5 million NGOs, nonprofit government organizations. Now it's way more than that. But poverty is still increasing. So then my question was, why? Like, why is that? Because that doesn't make sense. If there's more resources out there, if there's more organizations out there, then what's the problem? So for me, I felt like the problem was the way they were running their organizations, their strategy, a lack of strategy, um, their inability to collaborate or compete for the resources. Like it's just a lot of stuff I was coming up with. Like this is the reason why there's so many nonprofits and little poverty reduction. So then I was like, okay, if that's my answer, if that's what I think it is, what's the solution? Create a management consulting business and help these organizations become more efficient, effective, and reducing poverty in their communities. But then I realized that there's a lot of bureaucracy in trying to get through government policies because a lot of nonprofit organizations are getting funding from the federal level. So then it's difficult to try and do something on a larger impact when when the entity funding your organization is the government, just like with anything else. And so I was like, okay, I would still be willing to work with nonprofit organizations, but not on a one-to-one level. Now, if I can't do it on the federal level and the policy takes a long time, if I can't do it at the nonprofit level, because that's going to still take a long time because they're getting funding from government and they have to compromise sometimes on things they want to do, what's the next best thing? The next best thing for me was the community, the people, the one-to-one. And I had already been doing that, but not at the same scale as I was doing consulting for organizations. So I decided to flip it, and now I'm working one to one with the people. And in my opinion, the best way to sustainably, and again, the key word is sustainably efficient and long term. The best way to do that sustainably, long term, and efficiently is to get right down to the people, because the people will be here continuously, even when organizations won't be. The people are the ones that are sustaining and running the organizations. So then, where does the change need to be made? Whether it's racial equity, whether it's poverty alleviation, whether it's financial literacy, is always about the people. So then, First Ladies of Party Foundation became my like brainchild of putting everything I've been wanting to do, everything I have been doing, and the change I want to make under one umbrella, but serving the people. So now I get to serve the individual, the family, the organizations, and the communities under this one umbrella, and it's very seamless. Like it's a very seamless process. So I don't have to like do one or the other isolated. It's together now in a seamless process.
Definitely. I definitely agree, especially when you were stating about in order for something to be effective, you have to find the most kind of like the. It reminds me of like a fruit, and you know how like when a fruit is like ripe or not ripe enough, and then as it starts to advance, it has these like areas where it's softer or it's more vulnerable, or where you can basically just push your fingers in. It's kind of like, where do you find those vulnerable areas so that you're able to tackle them and also find something that effectively works for them. Definitely. I'm sorry, my tablet died. I'm trying to I would like for you to tell me what about I always find it unique, the origin of like the names of certain organizations or businesses. So how did you come up with the name Ordinary Influence?
Yes. So ordinary influence came from me being wanting to empower ordinary people to have extraordinary influence. I think that was actually the tagline. Ordinary people, extraordinary influence. I think that's what I had the tagline to be. So yeah, it was just letting people know like you don't have to be this, you don't have to have this title, or you don't have to have this prestige given to you by the world in order to have extraordinary influence. And I think the world of social media is showing us that like ordinary people are becoming super unordinary very quickly. And it's not to say they were ever really ordinary. It's just that the way we saw celebrity, or the way we saw people of importance, was if the world gave them that importance. And my goal was to empower people to give themselves that importance to have extraordinary influence in their communities, even though they were considered ordinary people.
I like that. I feel like I feel like ordinary is the new extraordinary in a way. Um, I would
Mhm. Absolutely.
um what would you say are some of your I feel like you may have kind of answered this already, but what would you say in terms of like your process of like developing like a plan of action for the people that you meet with or even for your team? What are some goals and objectives that you try to communicate with them or hope to accomplish through your services?
Yeah, so the first thing is to get a free consultation. Now, some people automatically just sign up for or enroll in the group coaching program, which is also the membership program. So if they just automatically enroll, then there is a new member orientation that they go through, and then there's the weekly calls, etc. in the membership program. And people can learn more by going to firstlaserpartyfoundation.org and clicking on become a member or membership to learn more about what's included in that program. Um, if you don't automatically enroll and you get a free consultation, then in that consultation, we decide like which program is right for you. So first, why are you coming to us? What are you looking for? What are your goals? And is this the right program for you? If it's not the right program for you, we will refer you to another one that we think will be best within our network. Or if it is right for you, if we do think we're right for you and we could help you reach your goals, whether it's be to grow a purpose-driven online business to 30K or 60K, so you'll own your own business. And we have 20 plus business programs for you to choose from, whether it's also learning how to manage and save your money, so all things financial literacy, whether it's investing your money, so maybe you already have a savings and investing your money to create additional streams of income, and then creating a generational wealth blueprint. So then getting your assets protected, getting your will, making sure all this stuff is in place so that when you pass away, it would be left to the people that you want it left to. So that entire process comes with the program, and we help you decide one, where are you? And it's so our bootcamp has 5 stages. Where are you in the stage? And then we have once we decide what stage or group you're in, then there are activities and there are milestones for you to complete for you to come move on to the next one. So there are 5 stages to complete in our program, and we decide which one you are in, what program would be right for you, and then work with you as long as you're part of the program to building generational wealth by having a business, learning financial literacy, which is managing some of your money, by learning how to invest your savings. So once you have a savings, learn how to invest that properly for additional income streams, and then of course protecting your assets and making sure you leave it to your beneficiaries, the people you want to leave it to, your family, or even a charity organization if you don't want to leave it to family.
And I'm interested in because it's probably it takes time to develop like plans, especially plans of action. Um, so compare it to when you started in the beginning to where you are now. What are some changes that you've begun to notice or that you've noticed over time in your process, or what are some things that you reflected on from the beginning that you wanted to change from for the future?
Yeah, so I tried a lot of different things, and I think that's why I could confidently say what my plan is now. But I tried a lot of different things, and I think also some people they only do like one or two things in college, or maybe they're just focusing on something, in their younger years. For me, I was doing 50 million different things, so I was trying so much at once that I kind of got a sense of, okay, this is best for me, or or I really like this one, I don't really like that one. So I had so many options, and I was able to explore so many things at once because I was doing so much at once. So then once I decided, like, I was able to be satisfied with what I've experienced and decide, like, out of my experiences, out of the things I have experienced and I have personally done, these are the things that I truly feel passionate about, that when I speak, I don't feel like it's work, that when I'm working on it, it doesn't feel like work, that I can talk about and do without eating for a few days. Like I could just work on it and work on it and work on it because I'm that passionate about it. So once I found those things, that's what I decided to focus on. And then after I found those things, then it was like, okay, now how do I make this into a successful career so I can provide for myself, right? So then in that process, you have to just take on, a couple jobs that you might not really like, but that could pay the bills while you're working on your dream. So once I got to a place where, I could buy property, I bought myself a mobile trailer to start, which also functions now as my office. Um, and I was able to save a lot of money and start thinking about, my business and work part time too. So instead of having to work full time to pay overhead bills, I was able to work part time because I had saved up enough to buy something that would allow me to work part time and work full time on my business. So the plan of action just continues to shift as you decide like what you want to do, what's needed to get there, and that constantly shifts because you never really know what the universe has planned for you. There's so many different ways to get to where you want to be. But as long as you're open to change and flexibility while still have a plan of action in place and you're actively working on it, things tend to fall into place as you're putting yourself in the position for those things to fall into place, if that makes sense. So that includes, okay, if I want to work with BIPOC and minority, I need to go to these networking events. I need to go to events where I can meet BIPOC and minority. If I want to work with entrepreneurs, I need to go to entrepreneur conferences. I'm actively putting myself in the position where I get to meet the people that I want to work with, be inspired by those people, and then obviously get new ideas for how I want to do the thing I want to do, if that makes sense. And it's a never ending journey. As long as you live, you will continue to evolve and grow, but you'll get to a place where you're comfortable with what you're doing, but you just continue to grow off that, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I totally agree. You spend like your it's kind of like when people ask or when you kind of get to that point and you're like, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? Or what am I meant to do? It's like you said, like a revolving door. It's continuous. You evolve over time, you change, your mindset develops and your perception broadens. And I also I like how you noted that because everyone's process is different to finding their interests. I like that you noted that it's okay to try multiple things or try to just explore and find just kind of find what resonates with you. And because I feel like at times we like you said, like by life you or like responsibilities or obligations, we feel that we have to minimize ourselves to this one bubble or realm, and then we look back and we're just like, well, I want to feel like fulfilled. Maybe I haven't tried enough things, or maybe I haven't stepped outside of my comfort zone. So I definitely like that you shared that. Um, do you feel like you have, or do you have a motto or a slogan that you find yourself sharing a lot with people around you, or just people who come to you for services, or even with like your team or your colleagues? Like,
Yeah, I actually have quite a few of them. Like I know one of them is joie de vivre, which is Louisiana Creole for joy of living. So for me, I try to enjoy every day because I don't know when it's going to be my last. So a lot of people want to say, "Oh, I'll enjoy life when I retire at 70." I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get there. For me, I don't understand why you have to wait. You have to work 7 decades to have 1 or 2 decades of freedom. So for me, just in making sure you are intentionally enjoying every day, I think is super important and celebrating every day. I don't understand the need to wait to holidays to celebrate life or to celebrate just living or the spirit of giving. I don't know why we have to wait the spirit of Thanksgiving. I don't know why I have to wait to November to celebrate that. I think you should do that every day. So even at First Lives Apart Foundation, our magazine is called Joie de Vivre because of that. Um, I would say another thing I would say is start where you are, do what you can with what you have. So a lot of people are like, oh, I would love to do this, but I'm not at this place, or I'm not at this place, or I'm not at that place, I haven't done this, or I'm not ready for this. And it's like, you'll never be ready with that mindset because you're not taking any action to get ready. So I always tell people, if this is what you truly want to do, then just work towards it. No, you may not get there tomorrow, but every step you take, the closer you'll get to doing what it is you want to do. And every step you take, the more you'll learn so that you know which direction to go. But if you take no steps, you'll just keep sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or making excuses as to why you can't do something or why you are not able to do something.
Definitely. I completely agree with especially with the power of thought. Thoughts are very powerful, and at times, even when you're thinking it and you haven't surfaced it into the atmosphere, it can still manifest. So it's really important to be conscientious of that and just really just be self affirming. And I like that that you noted that, which is very important because your mindset affects everything. And sometimes we learn that sooner or we learn it later, but eventually we learn the power of thought and perception and how it influences us. Okay, so last question, because I feel like I've taken up so much of your time. Um, what is a piece of advice if you could leave with others when it comes to pursuing their dreams or their passions? What is something that you would share with them, or even share with your younger self, or at a point in your life where you felt like, that was so far fetched or so far off? What would you say?
Yes, I'm actually writing a book on this called High Value University, and it's specifically for women, to let them know their power and influence and who they are truly as women and why they need to see who they are as women and stop playing like a man, versus playing like a woman. So there are two things I would say. I know you said one, but I'm going to say two because I think they're both super, super important. So the first one, for women specifically, I would say you don't need to play like a man in order to have the influence or more of a man. That's one thing. I think we've been taught that you have to, it's kind of like we're almost competing against men to see who's more manly, um, who's like in the workplace, like who's has more authority, who it should be respected. And I think we often start playing like a man in order to be respected, in order to get to where we want to be. And unfortunately, we lose our power as women playing like a man. So that's one. You don't need, and I know we could talk about that a lot, but I also have a meeting too. So I'll just say that in brief. You don't need to play like a man in order to have the same influence or more, and make significant change and get to where you want to be in life. In fact, you are enough. You're more than enough playing like a woman, with all your emotions, all your intuition. All those things are super, super valuable, and we've been lied to all our lives. So that's one. Two, two would be, um, whew, life is a journey, and you don't need to have it all figured out. But you do need to be intentional. It is hard work. It is hard work to not be average and to not have an average life, but that work will pay off. So, and it's also easier to actually be your own boss, because once you start, you'll see that being your own boss, is so much more rewarding when you are doing it versus being an employee and staying in a safe zone of just, I'm at least getting a paycheck. Whereas in entrepreneurship, a lot of people say, I don't know if I'm going to have a paycheck this month. I may have one last month, but not this month. So I would say just do it. Like, tomorrow is not promised, and at the end of the day, nobody's gonna really remember you unless you have, if you have some influence in your community or the status of Beyonce. But even then, nobody's really gonna remember. Life goes on, so do what the heck you wanted to go after your dreams.
Very insightful. I'm so glad that I got the opportunity and that you were just considerate enough to take out the time to do this interview. I feel that so many people are going to find this information extremely helpful and insightful. I'm definitely going to make sure to reference them to your services so that they're able to just learn more and obtain more. And I know that I don't know your clients personally or the people that you've worked with, but I know that they've probably obtained so much fruitfulness from working with you and working with like your organization and your team. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, I'm honored to even have reconnected with you. Sometimes I used to think about it. Like, what is she doing? I wonder if she's going to answer. I wonder if she still uses social media. But I'm so glad you reached out and then we were able to connect. I'm excited to see where you go and what you're doing. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to mention. You said advice. I was trying to remember what exactly I wanted to say. Here it is. It is self-made is also a lie. That's what I was really trying to get at the end there. You need community. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We were made to rely on each other. Um, if you are too ashamed to ask for help, to seek guidance, if you're too prideful, you will never reach your full potential of success, because every high success story, every amazing success story you can think of was never done alone. So if you're trying to attain that self-made title, not only will it be lonely at the top by yourself, but really your success potential will be so limited it's not even worth attaining. Okay, now I'm done.
thank you so much. I'm sorry, I feel like I've taken up so much time. I feel bad. I know that that you're really busy, but I thank you for doing it for this long. And
No, it's okay. I was definitely thinking about that, and I hope the person for the meeting is still on. But also going back to living in the moment. I don't know if I ever get to speak to you another time. So this is definitely worth it. You know, business can wait. I think this is definitely worth it. This is fine. You don't have to apologize. I thank you for being intentional about your questions. It's not just like random questions just to waste time. Like, they were actually very important, intentional, deep questions. So thank you for being interested.
thank you, and no problem.
All right. Is that it? Are we all set?
Yes, ma'am. That is. I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll definitely send you the link and reach out to you to just talk in general. But I do have another meeting. So thank you for this interview. It is so lovely to speak with you and to see you. I love to see you smile. It's just wonderful because I know you're so soft spoken and you always say, "Oh, it's okay," but when you smile, it just I don't know. I love it. So I will talk to you later. Thank you again, and definitely do keep in touch. And again, I'll send you all this information afterwards.
Bye. You have a good
All right.
weekend.
Talk to you later. You too. Bye.